evening. Welcome to the second round of the Phoenix Redistricting Process Community Meeting for Council District 1. My name is Chris Meyer. I am a retired city clerk and city attorney for the city of Phoenix. I've been through all the redistricting processes that the city has ever done. So I was come back to help with this process. First of all, I want to express thanks of Councilwoman O'Brien for you all being here tonight. She is not here, unfortunately. She had planned to, but as we speak, the Phoenix City Council meeting is still going on downtown. So she and her staff are still tied up at the meeting and they're not able to be here. Same is true for the staff from the city that would be here. Ginger Spencer is a deputy city manager who's overseeing this project. She's also at the council meeting. And Denise Archibald, the city clerk, is also in the council meeting. So everybody else is still tied up at that meeting that started at 2:30 this afternoon. So I do want to thank the staff is here from the communications office and the city clerk department. And we have a Spanish translator here if that's needed. Carmen Cota is over there if you need Spanish translation services. So tonight what we're going to do is talk a little bit of background on the process just to refresh people's memories. And then the City of Phoenix hires consultants, as I'll explain in a second, to draw the maps and analyze the maps submitted by the public. They are experts in redistricting, and Preeti and Sam Mather are our consultants this time, and I'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute. So the city has to do redistricting every 10 years. It's federal and a code requirement that we have to do it to equalize the population in the districts. Over the 10 years between the census, when they're done, the population in the districts changes, and districts that have a higher population, the people who vote in those districts, their vote counts less than someone in a district that has a lower population. So we have to, by law, redraw the district boundaries every 10 years. So that's what this process is about. We are using the same process this time that we have used in 1990 and 2000 and 2010 when we drew the boundaries at those times. As I mentioned, to ensure a professional and unbiased process, we hire consultants that are experts in the redistricting process and the requirements to draw the lines and analyze the maps and the census data. And this year we hired ArcBridge Consulting out of the Washington, D.C. area, and that's Preeti and Sam Mather who are here and have been doing this. Preeti will be going through a presentation explaining the census data and then the proposed maps that we have for you to review. Most of you know that we had an initial round of meetings about the redistricting process back in end of May and June to talk about the process and go over the census data and what needed to change. And then we also introduced the mapping application that we had so that people could actually go on and create their own maps. And we did have some maps submitted, and Preeti will talk about those. And then also to explain the process about how to make comments and get more information. So that was all covered in the first round. Maps were then submitted and we reviewed those. And so we're back tonight to present two alternative plans that are being presented to get input from the public on not so much about which one they like more than another, but what they like and dislike about each of the different maps. So we can take that input to try to finalize the maps. The consultants will do that after we finish these meetings next week, and then the city council will be meeting later this month to consider and adopt a plan. The plan that is adopted will then go into effect January 1st in time for the city council elections to be held in November of next year. But the nomination process and petition process starts much earlier in the year, and the county has to get their voter registration database all updated. So that's why we have to complete this now in the next 30 days or so. There are handouts and materials out there available, including the proposed maps. The current council districts and precincts and other maps are out there. There is also a website that you can go to. This video of this meeting will be available, as are all the others, and the first round meetings, the census data, and all the maps have been submitted, and they're interactive. You can zoom in on them so that you can see more detail if you need to do that. So that is the information we need to cover as far as background. So now I will turn it over to Preeti Mather to go over some background information on the census data from their work, and then talk about the proposed maps and how they specifically affect District 1.
Good evening. My name is Preeti Mathur, and I'm with Arkbridge Consulting. And I'm with Arkbridge Consulting, and just like Chris said, we have been doing redistricting for since 1990. I used to be at the Department of Justice, where we evaluated all the plans that came in, and I supported the attorneys in the Civil Rights Division. Today, what I have is I have a PowerPoint presentation for you, and in this, we are going to do some, there are some slides where we are going to talk about the census data, and then we are going to present the alternatives. So let me go ahead and get started with that. So as you can see on the slide, we have the current council districts, and these council districts were built based on the census 2010 data. Back then, the population was 1.4 million for the city of Phoenix, and now, as you can see in the census 2020 data, the population is 1.6 million, and each district should have 201,017 people. So when we look at the current districts with the 2020 data, our maximum deviation is 14.45%. What that means is that the difference between the most populated and the least populated district is greater than is 14.45%, and the law requires it to be under 5%. So with that, we are just, this is a slide that we showed in our round one presentation, but we put in here so that you could see where we are going from. And you can see on this slide that we have the 8 districts in the city of Phoenix. And you can see the dotted line up there, which shows you that that is the ideal population. Any district which is under needs to gain population, and any district which has more needs to give up population. So this is based on the Public Law 94-171 data set, which is released by the Bureau of Census every 10 years. And this is 100% count, so no estimates, and this is 100% count as reported by the Bureau of Census. What you can also see here is the information about race for each district. So now we know that we have to balance our districts. So how do we do it? We have the redistricting criteria and the guidelines, which was set up by the city of Phoenix. Now the equal population, so every district should have as equal population as possible. And the goal here is that the maximum deviation, the overall maximum deviation, should be less than 5%. And for each district, it should be under 1%. And the Voting Rights Act says that we should preserve the Minority Voting Rights Act, so we need to ensure that we do that. And then there are other guidelines which are like compactness, contiguity, preservation of the core of the current districts, continuity of representation, which means that we need to ensure that the current incumbents are still within their districts. So, and then the preservation of political subdivisions. For the city of Phoenix, we use the county precincts. So that is what we are using to build our districts. So now I wanted to talk about the public submission process. So soon after our round one meetings, the city opened up an application where the community could draw their maps the way they think would best represent them. So that period was from the 29th of June till August 1st. And we did receive 36 submissions. And 16 community members authored multiple submissions, so we got 36. And then we evaluated them, and we found that some were duplicate and some did not meet the criteria. But we looked at all these compactness, precinct splits, maximum deviation, Just like we described in the previous slide, we looked at all those factors, and then now we are here to present two plans to you. We call them Alternative A and Alternative B. So here, Alternative A is based on feedback that we got from the community after the round one meetings. And Alternative B is one of those 36 that we selected, and we made some minor tweaks to it so to ensure that it was completely in compliance with the redistricting criteria. So here there are some statistics here. So you can see that the current districts, we have 14.45 is the maximum deviation, which we know is not in compliance. Then we look at Alternative A and B. They meet the redistricting maximum deviation criteria. Then we also look at how many precincts were split. So here in current districts, we have 31 precincts which are split, but we have done better in Alternative A, but in Alternative B, we have a few more splits than our current districts. And then we looked at the compactness score and the number of precincts that were moved. So now what I want to do is present Alternative A and Alternative B to you. And we are just going to show you about District 1 because this is a District 1 meeting. So here, this is how the map looks like, and we'll go into detail for District 1. And if you look at it, the black lines are your current districts, and the red lines are what is being proposed in Alternative A. So here, you can see that the deviation, the maximum deviation is 1.38, and you can see the number of precinct splits. You can see the number of precincts that were moved, and we have a listing of all those 22 precincts on this table. The other thing we said we were going to look at majority-minority population. As you know, currently the city of Phoenix has 4 majority Hispanic districts and 4 majority non-Hispanic whites, and you can see that here. And Alternative A maintains the same representation. In Alternative B, this once again is based on a community map submission. You can see the same thing. You can see the map on one side, and you can see the 33 precincts which have been changed as compared to the current district. And just to highlight that here the changes are over here for District 1 and here, and we are going to go into more detail. And this once again maintains the same majority-minority representation as the current districts. So now we'll look at the Alternative A and B for District 1. And we put them side by side so you can see and you can compare it. So Alternative A, as you can see, is proposing only one change. And that change is over here, which is part of the Harmon precinct, is being proposed to move from D5 to D1. And Alternative B has all these changes, and you can see most of the changes are over here and here. So in the next slide, I just want to show you the Harmon precinct, and it's over here. And if you're interested in looking at specific streets, you can see that these are the streets which bound the area which is being proposed to move from D5 to D1. And this slide here is giving you the details for Alternative B. And you can see all these precincts over here, and they are shown. The black and white dotted line is your current districts. So you can see all these precincts which are being added from D5 to D1, and they are listed over here. And you can see how D5 to D1 And like Harmon precinct is being split, this precinct is being split, and this one here. And then if you look at the other part of the northern part, you can see all the precincts which are being either split or completely moved from D2 to D1. And you can see Rose Garden, which is over here. It's being split. It used to be completely in D1, but now it's being split between D1 and D2. Shady Glen is here, you can see, and it is moved from D1 to D3. And then we have the Taro precinct, which was completely in D1, but is now being split between D1 and D3. So those are the changes in alternative A and B. And with that, I'm just going to put it out there one more time, one change, and then we have several changes here. We show you the statistics, and now it's open for questions and comments. So if you have any questions, please do come forward, and we'd be happy to answer, because the community is very important, and we need to make sure that we get your comments. And if you're unable to attend the meeting today, you can always go on Phoenix.Redistricting.com, and you can send your comments from there. And also there is, if you're unable to see the streets and you want to zoom in and zoom out, once again, on PhoenixRedistricting.com, there is a tab for interactive maps, and you can go in and you can zoom in and see all the streets. So thank you very much for attending. And now, if you have any questions, we are here to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions? Either about the process of the maps or any comments? You can submit them, live, tell us now, or there's a form out there you can fill out and put it in either tonight, or if you want to take more time, you can submit it to us later. You can also submit comments by email or online on the website, or you can call us. There's a number there you can call. But the website again is PhoenixRedistricting.com, and it has the maps, these proposals. As Preeti said, you can zoom in on those to see more detail if you need to be more precise about where exactly the boundaries are and what areas are affected. So any questions this evening? Apparently not. So thank you again. And again, thank you from the councilwoman for being here in the District 1 office. They're sorry they could not be here, but the council meeting may still be going on, so they're still tied up. So thank you all for attending, and this video will be posted online, so there's other people you want to tell about it or talk about the hearing and want to see what the changes are, they can watch it online very soon. Thank you. Have a good evening.